Titus available. Roll call for the City Council meeting of Wednesday, June 18th, 2025 at 6:30 p.m. Council President and members Brzezinski, Flores, Nelson, Schaaf, Titus, and Troop. Please stand for a moment of silence and Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Motion to approve the minutes of Wednesday, June 4th, 2025 City Council meeting and bills for payment June 20th and 27th. Members Brzezinski, Flores, Nelson, Schaaf, Titus, Troop, Witherspoon.
Are there any requests for repository sales? Are there any requests for repository sales? Are there any requests for repository sale? Hearing none.
Okay, now we're moving on to public comments.
Do we have a presentation?
No presentation. We have a public hearing tonight, so at around 7, we're going to stop the meeting wherever we are and conduct the public hearing, and then after the public hearing, we'll go back to the regular order of business. If you could just state your name and your municipality, you will have 5 minutes.
Michael Keys, Erie, Pennsylvania. I wanted to come here and remind the city that that council put $5-some million away for the city parks, and it's still 4 years later, and there's not been one penny spent in our parks. There's a plan that's gonna go on in the next, I guess, months, but with no guarantee that the next administration is gonna adopt that. I think it's important that we take the money that we have and use it to leverage whatever other money that we can get to start fulfilling our commitment to our citizens to improve their parks right now. And so, because you never know what the next administration is want to do, and that's been a promise that you're going to upgrade our parks. We've waited several years, and we still don't have a plan. I think it's time to, between the minds that the city already has and the minds of council, that you guys get together and figure it out. We do have a survey that's on record or what the people do want in their parks. Maybe we need to pull those out and revisit the things that were on there. If I just could say what we should do is that that we should upgrade the Roger Young, that we should move forward with improving the park with the field and track, and improvements for the swimming facility. Those are things that are low-hanging fruit. Every
Which one is it?
Local official said that, that they would, sponsor it. They're just waiting for the city. I've yet to see the city spend any money for the citizens. And so it's time that, the money's there. The money's been appropriated. It's time that we spend the money on the citizens and that the people get something, because every time I remind myself that we had $76 million in unanticipated revenue and the people have gotten nothing.
Thank you, sir.
Hello, my name is David Uhlig. I live in Erie on Myrtle Street. I'm here to urge you to take action to keep the Erie Zoo operational as a fully accredited zoo. Accreditation was lost 4 years ago due to a lack of space for modern exhibits and lack of funding. The city, as owner of the park, can provide the space needed while maintaining space for the golf course, the park, and other amenities at Glenwood Park. The city can't commit to funding the zoo at the level needed, unlike the support provided to similar local zoos. For example, 50% of the annual funding for the 35-acre Akron Zoo comes from a special property tax. Nobody in Erie wants another property tax. Very unpopular. The 24-acre Buffalo Zoo has received $1 million in support from the city of Buffalo each year for the past 6 years. Erie can't afford that. Instead, the city has an opportunity to partner with a regional organization that can return the zoo to a fully accredited regional asset that serves the entire region. And this regional organization has 2 members on the board that are appointed by you, the city council and the mayor. The alternative is continued inaction, which means abandoning a City of Erie asset and risk creating a 15-acre abandoned zoo blighted space at one of the gateways to the city. So the choice is really clear. Continued inaction and be known as the administration and council that abandoned our 100-year-old zoo, or take some positive action to create the Erie Zoo that'll serve us for the next 100 years. Thank you.
Thank you.
My name is Freda Tepfer, and I live in Erie, Pennsylvania. So the draft final safety action plan, you're going to be voting on that tonight. So I have some comments. I have been saying for several years that the city needs a traffic mitigation ordinance. One of the things that the plan does refer to is having addressing development as one way to fund additional sidewalks and other things. It's time for the city to look at having a traffic mitigation ordinance. Also, they mentioned TASA funding. That process is in process now. It's through the state, and the application period will open on 7/14, go through 10/31. Draft applications are mandatory and due 9/5. So hopefully the city will take advantage of this process to get TASA funding for some of the recommendations in the plan. But one of the crazy things about trying to drive safely in Erie, if you're on 10th Street, 18th Street, 12th Street, maybe 6th, is you're just driving along and all of a sudden you're in the wrong lane. You're in a right turn only lane and you're in the wrong lane. And unless you've been around here long enough and you're driving with that in mind and you get in the correct lane, you have to get out of that lane and get in the right lane all of a sudden. And that's probably something that impacts accidents. And they don't even mention that in the report. South of 12th Street, as far as safe streets for school, they need to include the area for people who are going to Strong Vincent south of State Street, south of West 12th. I see kids walking on Raspberry all the time, and that's a pretty disgusting street to have to walk to school on. The sidewalks aren't maintained. The railroad crossing is not very negotiable, and we should be doing something about that. 26th Street and State Street is not included in the plan to have a signal upgrade, but there's no accessible pedestrian signal there. There should be an accessible pedestrian signal at State Street, just because the light automatically turns green and red and you don't have to press a button doesn't mean if you're blind you know what's going on. They talk about adding lead pedestrian intervals. No lead pedestrian interval should go in anywhere in the city unless there is an accessible pedestrian signal. If Erie wants to join Chicago and New York and the other cities that have been successfully sued for not having APSs where they have lead pedestrian intervals, go ahead and do that. Also, they talk about a lot of mid-block crossings with flashing lights. Again, if you're blind, that's really not a very safe place to cross to know what's going on. So there has to be more going on than that. And as Mr. Nelson can tell you, drivers are not very good at responding to flashing lights. That's why we have a traffic light at Cranberry and the Bayfront Parkway. Let's see what are my other notes. Just let me look through here real quick. So they do talk, I think it's a great idea to improve to know where the intersections are, to have, they call it, it's not highlighting, but a way that people are discouraged from parking too close to the corner, because that's definitely a safety concern. Also, Pittsburgh is a high incident area on the plan, but they don't show anything. There's no sidewalks on Pittsburgh from a long ways to the south up to 12th Street and beyond, and there really ought to be sidewalks. It's a betterment item identified in the long-range transportation plan, and so they could put it in the TASA to put in for money for that. I really do support the measures, the resolutions supporting Pride and Juneteenth, and thank you very much for your time.
Thanks, Rob.
Thank you.
Good evening. Robert Cherry. I live in Erie. First, I have a couple notes to comment on. I'm happy the City Council is taking historic preservation seriously. The proposed changes to Article 7 look much better than what's currently on the book, so thank you for all of the work for that. Similar to what Freda just said, thank you for recognizing Juneteenth, Pride Month, and World Refugee Day. I know it's only a resolution, but the support from authority figures means a lot, especially on days like today, where the Trump administration and the Supreme Court made some pretty damaging announcements towards LGBTQ and people, and especially LGBTQ youth. So thank you for that. I wanted to quickly talk about bike lanes. I would love to see more support for bike lanes, especially in the Green Garden area. I live near there, and it is not a safe bike lane because of the vehicles that park there. So I would love to see more work on that. And finally, if you're not doing anything Saturday, please stop by the American Cancer Society Relay for Life at the Haggerty Family Event Center from 11 to 5. We have about 25 teams, and the Erie event is currently ranked 55th in the nation for fundraising. So if you're around, please stop by and support our efforts. So thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I think it's only proper for me to say good evening to everybody, Mayor Schember, President Weatherspoon, Erie City Council board members. My name is Beverly Potts. My address is 605 Elm Court in Erie, PA, on the east side of Erie, and I'm a very proud person of the east side of Erie. I only wish the city of Erie would think the same. This evening, I'm just going to I have a couple of issues, And I'm going to be really quick on my first issue because I just have said this before. I have come to you people before. I would like lights in Wayne Park. If we can have them in the park or by Emerson Gridley, why can't Wayne Park have lights? It's dark. It's really dark. If you people ride around the city of Erie, if I ask somebody about Erie, they have no idea where east side of Erie is or what it looks like. But I can tell you what's on the east side of Erie and on the west side of Erie. Just ask me. That's my first short one. My biggest one right now is I'm here to ask you people to do something about basketball hoops in the streets. They are many, and I don't know why we can't come to some conclusion here. Let me read this to you, because when I talk to the policemen, when I go to the neighborhood watch area, the cops say, oh, there's no ordinance. Well, excuse me. So I've got this to read to you, and this is Article 719, Streets and Sidewalks. All erections or obstructions whatsoever, unless authorized by special resolution of the mayor and council, upon any part of any street, public square, or public wharf in the city, are declared to be common nuisance. All persons are prohibited from causing, placing, maintaining, allowing, or keeping upon any part of any street, public square, or public wharf, or any public appendage or construction connected wherewith any merchandise, vehicle, trees, posts, and then they go on and on and on and on. But I don't see basketball hoops. I think it should be there. But it might contain basketball hoops. This shall not repeal existing ordinances relating to space on sidewalks permitted to be occupied for areaways and by merchants for the display of goods. Now, I want to talk to you about the one that's on Atkins Street. That's the first one that I saw because it's in just where I travel. And sometimes there's one on Upper Atkins Street going toward Gilson. And sometimes there is some going down toward Wayne. But the one that I talk about right now is the one that has just come in front of 613 Elm Court, and that is my street. My street goes from Atkins Street, where East Middle School sits, and East Lake Road. If you know anything about the city of Erie, you know that those two if you come from East Avenue and you have Pennsylvania Avenue, you have Brandis, you have Hess Avenue. Hess Avenue is a long street. Then you have Birch Court, which goes between Atkins and East Lake Road, Elm Court, and then Payne Avenue. Elm Court and Birch Court are really, really little streets. Now, this person puts for his little child a basketball hoop in front of his house. There's rarely enough space for cars to park on the street. They have two. They have a driveway, and now the wife is in the driveway, and the man is in front of my house. Excuse me, I have a driveway, and my driveway was shared with my neighbor. Okay, you have to see with your eyes what I'm talking to you about, because I think the street cleaner has to go around the basketball hoops. Okay, and today the garbage can was sitting next to the basketball hoop. That's why the father now is parked in front of my house. But I'm just saying, there is 12 areas on that street that are lived in by people. So if you figure everybody has two cars, where are we going to fit a basketball hoop? Okay, the thing I have to tell you that is I talked to John Popoff, who is the owner, and not owner, but he's the big manager at the Boys and Girls Club. This is an application for young people if they'd like to come, because there's a free people for kids to sign up to come for like 3 to 6, I believe it is, the time. I had hoped John would show tonight, but he was busy. But that's pretty much what I wanted to tell you. I want to talk about the basketball hoops. And I'm sure they're everywhere else in the city that I can't really describe, but these two are the main that I'm talking about right now. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Are there any other citizens to be heard?
Good evening. Bob Strasser, lifelong East Side resident, Erie. Try to advocate for the East Side, as some other individuals here tonight are here to do. Tonight, I want to cover, I think it was at the end of last month's Wednesday council meeting that one of the council members had brought up about holding off on the bike trail plan for the city for different reasons. And that's one thing I want to talk to tonight, in that on the east side, one of the major ones that I see is on 10th Street. There's the logo for the bicycle with 3 arrows pointing in the direction, whatever you're going, that's right in the middle of the street. So basically, if someone's biking, they're going to be biking right down the middle of the street. And I don't think it's just there. That's just one street that I go over a lot on the east side. I've also seen it in the lower part of Green Garden, and then it switches over to the side areas of Green Garden. But those same symbols are there. And to me, that's just asking for accidents to happen between bicyclists and people in motor vehicles, cars, trucks. And if we are trying to revitalize the city and have a great bike trail system, I think we need to research a little, like what I've done in my research on some of the newer cities being built in this nation and in other nations throughout the world, that they keep lanes separate for motor vehicles. Then there's a little barrier, and then there's an area for bicyclists. Then there's another barrier, and that's for the pedestrians for walking or rollerblading and all of that type of stuff. I know we're trying to revitalize and be a little more advanced and stuff, but just sticking a logo in the middle of a road for bicyclists. And in addition to that, I know they try to do that down at Presque Isle, but they also put up other signs that say share the road, so that motorists are aware that bicyclists and people on these motor scooters and all these other things that are coming out, that they may be out in the roadway, and we don't have that here. We just are trying to put some temporary things in to make it, I guess it's to make it look like we're trying to do something, but I think we're going to be looking at more negative things happening because of that if we're not going to do it the way that all these other city planners and stuff have done for these newer and these 15-minute cities that are trying to be brought about. So that's what I have with that. And also my other concern is, I mentioned it earlier, a lot of these little motorized scooters and different bikes and go-karts and whatever that are just all over the roads. They don't stop at the stop signs, and some of these move at a pretty good clip, but if you have a motorist that's blowing through an intersection, we're just waiting for big fatalities to take place. So I'm going to, the last thing that I wanted to talk was, I saw that the governor had just approved in some cities and some of the different counties in Area Few for data centers and energy plants to be built. So I'm asking, is Erie looking to research these and see if we can be part of that? I know that we have a lot of natural gas under where we're at, and we could get in on some of this newer technology type stuff to generate additional revenue for the city. So thank you for the time tonight, for listening to what I have to say.
Thank you very much, sir. Are there any other citizens to be heard?
Hi, my name is Carlos Mora, 16441. I'll just be brief. I just want to make sure that you guys really consider and pass unanimously the resolution sets on the agenda about protecting LGBTQ rights, Juneteenth, and the World Refugee Day. I hope that we're living in a city where, regardless of our politics and personal policy, we all can agree that every human being, regardless of sex, gender, race, and hopefully immigration status, deserves dignity and a place to call home. So I invite you, all of you, to vote unanimously on those three resolutions. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Are there any other citizens to be heard? Are there any other citizens to be heard? Are there any other citizens to be heard? Hearing none, Laurie?
Not quite time for the public hearing yet. Ordinances for final passage. Council File Number 16532, Official Ordinance 42-2025, an ordinance appropriating the sum of $1,097,563 from unappropriated and unanticipated revenue for the expenditure thereof from the City of Erie ARP fund interest and will be used to fund the Capital Improvement Fund. Sponsored by Councilmember Nelson, seconded by Councilmember Titus, that Council File Ordinance Bill Number 16532, and now known as Official File Ordinance 42-2025, be finally passed by City Council. Members Brzezinski, Flores, Nelson, Schaaf, Titus, Troop, Witherspoon. City Council passed Official File Ordinance 42-2025 finally by yeas 7, nays 0. Council File Number 16533, Official Ordinance 43-2025, an ordinance appropriating the sum of $18,417.06 of program income generated through the Community Development Block Grant for the following CDBG CD23 projects. Sponsored by Councilmember Titus, seconded by Councilmember Flores, the Council File Ordinance Number 16533, and now known as Official File Ordinance 43-2025, be finally passed by City Council. Members Brzezinski, Flores, Nelson, Schaaf, Titus, Troop, Witherspoon. City Council passed Official File Ordinance 43-2025 finally by yeas 7, nays 0. Ordinances for first reading. Council File Number 16534, an ordinance appropriating the sum of $261,142 from unappropriated and anticipated revenue to be received from the U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development, HUD, for the following Emergency Solution Grant ESG 25 projects. Sponsored by Councilmember Titus, seconded by Councilmember Flores. The Council File Ordinance Number 16534 have been read as hereby adopted on first reading by City Council. Members Brzezinski, Flores, Nelson, Schaaf, Titus, Troop, Witherspoon. City Council read and adopt Council File Ordinance 16534 by yeas 7, nays 0 on first reading. Council File Ordinance 16535, an ordinance appropriating the sum of $2,775,245 from unappropriated and anticipated revenue to be received from the U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development, which is HUD, and $5,000 program income for a total of $2,780,245 for the following Community Development Block Grant CDBG projects, CD25 projects. Sponsored by Councilmember Titus, seconded by Councilmember Flores. The Council File Ordinance 16535 have been read as hereby adopted on first reading by City Council. Members Brzezinski, Flores, Nelson, Schaaf, Titus, Troop, Witherspoon. City Council read and adopt Council File Ordinance 16535 by yea 7, nay 0 on first reading. 7 o'clock, time for the public hearing.
Okay, we will pause for the public hearing.
Before we get started, could anybody that's going to give testimony for or against the public hearing, please raise your hand and the stenographer will swear you in. Okay, pursuant to Act Pennsylvania 47 PS 4 461B3, Erie City Council will hold a public hearing on Wednesday, June 18th in City Council chambers to discuss changes recommended by the Planning Commission and the Historic Review Commission for the request of proposed amendments to Article 7 of the zoning ordinance, which is the historic resource protection, including but not limited to definitions, board structure, criteria designation, and the demolition process.
Good evening. My name is Cooper Moore. I live in downtown Erie. I am the assistant planner in the Department of Planning and Neighborhood Resources, as well as the secretary of the Planning Commission. And for the past several months, I have been acting as the city's historic preservation planner until just earlier this week. All that to say, I've been very actively involved in the process of rewriting this ordinance and in drafting the amendments to Article 7, and to let everyone know that the Historic Review Commission and the Planning Commission have both had opportunity to review the amendments to this article, and both commissions have unanimously voted to recommend that council approve the proposed amendments. And I'll turn it over to Matthew to explain in more detail the changes.
Thank you. I'm Matthew Falcone, Erie, Pennsylvania. I am the former chair of the HRC and very recently now city staff, the historic preservation planner for the city of Erie. It's my pleasure to bring this before you and to echo what my colleague said. The changes that you'll see in the ordinance are a product of 8 months of hard work by the Historic Review Commissioners, taking into account public concerns that have been brought up through the course of this program, as well as concerns that were raised by our city solicitor. The changes are meant to make the entire process more transparent, more inclusive, and more equitable. It's our hope that with these changes to the ordinance, which will enlarge the commission, bring on more commissioners to have differing points of view, and also to make the historic designation process for landmarks more transparent and also more regulated, so it's very clear both to the public and to the commission what steps are necessary, that we will have a substantially better historic review commission and process. I'm happy to answer any questions about the ordinance if you have any. Yes, I can do a brief synopsis. The commission is currently 5 members. The change that will be made will be 7. So we have additional spots for people who have the expertise, additional historic preservation expert, as well as a member of the community. And so in that way, we're able to broaden the voices on the HRC. For the review process of historic landmarks, it grants more time. And so it specifies now the time that the historic preservation planner will have to move an application through the process. And it also provides checkpoints by which the notification will be given both to the community and to property owners that would be affected. In addition to that, it specifies now who is able to submit a landmark application. The language in our current ordinance was very broad. And now we have specified it to individuals and have provided parameters around who exactly would be able to submit. And it specifies now that members of council, the mayor, a resident of Erie that has been a resident for at least 1 year, as well as members of the Historic Review Commission and Planning Commission are all individually charged, and they can submit an historic nomination. In addition to that, one of the most substantial changes is to how we go about creating a historic district. And with that process, there's now several more opportunities and regulated opportunities for community engagement. So more community meetings. It specifies notifications that need to go out in order to create a historic district, and ensures that there is a minimum threshold of support within the community for creating that district. Finally, I will also say that it provides an opportunity for applicants to appeal for those who would not like to move forward with the landmarking process. And in that way, there is a more robust access to different avenues through this, where there was not before.
Are there any questions from council?
No, just I know that the community will be happy that we're moving forward with this. There were some people who were not happy that we had just stopped it abruptly, so I'm hopeful that this will start making people a little bit more understanding that the process needed to be tweaked a little bit.
Thank you.
I want to thank you for all your efforts. I know it's been an in-depth process. I went to one of your sessions that you had, and I support all your endeavors. Thank you.
Thank you. If there's no more questions, we will, I don't believe we'll vote on that tonight. We'll vote on that the next meeting.
We'll close the public hearing.
Okay.
Thank you.
Anybody else in for or against? That concludes the public hearing. We can go back to the rest of the agenda.
Well, we have citizens to be heard.
Council file number 16536, an ordinance appropriating the sum of $805,148.06 from unappropriated and anticipated revenue to be received from the U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development, HUD, for the Home M25 projects. Sponsored by Councilmember Titus, seconded by Councilmember Flores, that Council file ordinance number 16536, having been read, is hereby adopted on first reading by City Council. Members Brzezinski, Flores, Nelson, Schaaf, Titus, Troop, Witherspoon. City Council read and adopt Council file ordinance 16536 by yea 7, nay 0 on first reading. Council file number 16537 of the City Council of the City of Erie, the city determining to incur lease rental debt evidenced by the guaranteed revenue note in the maximum principal amount of $414,900 to be authorized and issued by the Erie City Water Authority in connection with the construction, alteration, and improvements to the public water distribution facilities in and about this city, including but not limited to the customer side galvanized service line replacement project, Phase 2, and paying related costs, fees, and expenses, specifying the realistic useful life of the project, authorizing and directing appropriate officers of the city to take certain actions and to execute certain documents, including a guarantee agreement between the city as guarantor and the Erie City Water Authority, and the Pennsylvania Infrastructure Investment Authority approving the form, maximum guaranteed amounts, and sources of payment of the guarantee agreement, creating a sinking fund in connection with such guarantee obligations, and appointing a sinking fund depository, and providing for the repeal of all inconsistent ordinances or parts of ordinances. Sponsored by Councilmember Schaaf, seconded by Councilmember Brzezinski, the Council file ordinance number 16537, having been read, is hereby adopted on first reading by City Council. Members Brzezinski, Flores, Nelson, Schaaf, Titus, Troop, and Witherspoon. City Council read and adopt Council file ordinance 16537 by yea 7, nay 0 on first reading. Council File Number 16538, an ordinance appropriating the sum of $79,898.60 from unappropriated and unanticipated revenue for the expenditure thereof. Funding is from the ARP Revenue Replacement Funds. Sponsored by Councilmember Nelson, seconded by Councilmember Brzezinski. The Council File Ordinance Number 16538 having been read is hereby adopted on first reading by City Council. Members Brzezinski, Flores, Nelson, Schaaf, Titus, Troop, Witherspoon. City Council read and adopt Council File Ordinance 16538 by yea 7, nay 0 on first reading. Council File Number 16539, an ordinance appropriating the sum of $161,522 from unappropriated and anticipated revenue and providing for the expenditure thereof from the 2025 Auto Theft Prevention Authority. Sponsored by Councilmember Schaaf, seconded by Councilmember Brzezinski. The Council File Ordinance Number 16539, having been read, is hereby adopted on first reading by City Council. Members Brzezinski, Flores, Nelson, Schaaf, Titus, Troop, and Witherspoon. City Council read and adopt Council File Ordinance 16539 by yea 7, nay 0 on first reading. Council File Number 16540, an ordinance appropriating the sum of $190,961 from unappropriated and anticipated revenue and providing for the expenditure thereof, 2025 Insurance Fraud Prevention Authority. Sponsored by Councilmember Schaaf, seconded by Councilmember Brzezinski. The Council File Ordinance Number 16540, having been read, is hereby adopted on first reading by City Council. Members Brzezinski, Flores, Nelson, Schaaf, Titus, Troop, and Witherspoon. City Council read and adopt Council File Ordinance 16540 by yea 7, nay 0 on first reading. Council File Number 16541, an ordinance appropriating the sum of $1,097,563 from unappropriated and unanticipated revenue for the expenditure thereof from the City of Erie Capital Fund and will be used to fund capital expenditures. Sponsored by Councilmember Nelson, seconded by Councilmember Flores. The Council File Ordinance Number 16541, having been read, is hereby adopted on first reading by City Council. Members Brzezinski, Flores, Nelson, Schaaf, Titus, Troop, and Witherspoon. City Council read and adopt Council File Ordinance 16541 by yea 7, nay 0 on first reading. Council File Number 16542, an ordinance appropriating a sum of $143,520.30 for expenditures from the Stormwater Fund balance. These funds were appropriated in 2024 to pay for stormwater improvements related to the Cocqua Bridge project and were not expended in 2024. This project is ongoing and the funds need to be reappropriated for 2025. Sponsored by Councilmember Brzezinski, seconded by Councilmember Troop. The Council File Ordinance Number 16542, having been read, is hereby adopted on first reading by City Council. Members Brzezinski, Flores, Nelson, Schaaf, Titus, Troop, and Witherspoon. City Council read and adopt Council File Ordinance 16542 by yea 7, nay 0 on first reading. Council File Number 16543, an ordinance amending Article 1129, Quality of Life Violations, to amend and/or update the illegal burning subsection to provide both clarity of the rules and responsibilities of residents with regard to fires, and to simplify the regulations and rules of residents that conduct an open burning and/or that are enforced by the fire department. Sponsored by Councilmember Schaaf, seconded by Councilmember Troop. The Council File Ordinance Number 16543, having been read, is hereby adopted on first reading by City Council. Members Brzezinski, Flores, Nelson, Schaaf, Titus, Troop, and Witherspoon. City Council read and adopt Council File Ordinance 16543 by yeas 7, nays 0 on first reading. Council President, this takes us to new business.
Motion to move the balance.
Second. It's been moved in second.
Any separations? Any separations? Moving the balance of the agenda. Council members Brzezinski, Flores, Nelson, Schaaf, Titus, Troop, and Witherspoon. This takes us to committee reports.
Thank you. We'll start with Councilwoman Schaaf.
Thank you, Mr. President. I am actually very familiar with the Wayne Park area. I walked through it many, many times. My husband worked for 20 years at McGinnis Rolled Rings, and we walked around that neighborhood on his lunch breaks when I could. And I know people who live around there as well. So I've been an East Side resident all my life and affirm any good things happening there. I attended a breast cancer fundraiser in Gravel Pit Park in Northeast. I have a friend who gifts people with blankets and comes to their house and has a nice visit with them. I attended the tow parking and review board that I am on, and it's always very interesting. I had never been on it before until this year, and I'm learning a lot about things that we can improve on. So people are aware of the parking regulations. I also attended the Erie Zoo Glow Wild Night on June 7th, and it was wonderful and amazing. And I thankful to everyone who brought that in to our city, and I've heard nothing but good things from everyone who attended it. We had a study session yesterday for code enforcement, which addressed the different things that they've been doing and comparing last year to this year. We're doing a lot better with our permits and rentals. All of that has improved this year over last. I went to the federal courthouse yesterday. The Erie Coke representative pleaded guilty to counts 1 and 3, and October 7th, the judge will preside again, and that was very interesting. I had never witnessed anything like that before. The New American Council meeting had a meeting upstairs, and I attended that as their liaison, and World Refugee Day that we have in our agenda is going to be held on June 26th at Perry Square, and I affirm everything that they have going on. It's going to be a wonderful celebration, and I am thankful to all of the people and organizations that help our refugees. And historically, they've been around for a long time too. So it's wonderful that we continue to help and assist as needed. I attended the sewer meeting yesterday. That storm really did wreak havoc, and the litter booms need to be put back into place. And, unfortunately, when we have a major storm like that, there is things that go into the water that shouldn't, but they all are taken care of with the EPA testing that we do. There was a land bank meeting that I attended, and I like that they have precedence with people and organizations that continue to pay taxes. So I witnessed where a nonprofit did not get something, but the person who bought it, will continue to keep that on the tax roll. Not that I'm not against nonprofits, but it is beneficial when we can keep things on the tax roll and continue that. Went to the Benevolent Beers last Thursday for the Blues and Jazz Fest. My husband won a poster from last year that is up and hanging, and we can't wait for the Blues and Jazz Fest again. The street dance, June 13th at the EMTA and Downtown Partnership put on East 14th Street, was a lot of fun. And Juneteenth, I was there in the afternoon at Perry Square and got to meet a lot of people there that have booths, and it was a nice afternoon. And I attended the Flag Day celebration, June 14th, at the Soldiers and Sailors Home, and the Erie Philharmonic puts on a great performance there. And there was a state award for some of the people who live at the Soldiers and Sailors Home who had been in World War II. And man I know, Mr. Donald Smith, was there and received the state award, having been a part of World War II. And it was a nice event that they put on, and I'm thankful to all the people who take care of our veterans in whatever facilities they are. So I do want to address this summer. I go out and about as much as possible, and there's some events that are in our parks and outdoors, and I am asking all parents and guardians of our Erie citizens and students to be with your children when they go to these events, or know where they are, and really make sure that they're not wreaking havoc and causing trouble. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilman Troop.
Mr. President, thank you. I'll keep it brief. I did attend the Erie's Juneteenth celebration on Saturday, June 14th at Perry Square. It was, it's grown. It started off when I can remember, it was just a small little festival in the parking lot of Booker T. Washington Center. So it's really starting to grow. Thank the organizers and all the, Angela Ewell McNair, Erie's Black Wall Street, Booker T. Washington Center, the vendors, and especially the community. Events are only good when the community really comes out. That's what really makes an event. It's support from the community. It was good to see our new school superintendent there, Dr. Natalie Gibbs. She's been very visible in the community and was actually at the event all day and taking pictures of people and talking to people and things like that. For those who don't know, tomorrow is actually the federal holiday, Juneteenth. It's tomorrow, June 19th. And I did want to, we have a resolution on the agenda, and for those who aren't here, I just want to read what it says. This is a resolution sponsored by City Council, who proudly recognize June 19th as a day of profound historical significance and reflection. Juneteenth marks the moment in 1865 when enslaved African Americans in Galveston, Texas finally learned of their freedom, more than 2 years after the Emancipation Proclamation was issued. This day is a powerful reminder of the resilience, courage, and enduring contributions of Black Americans throughout our nation's history. As a city, we honor the struggles and triumphs of the past while reaffirming our commitment to justice, equity, and inclusion for all. We encourage all residents to reflect on the meaning of freedom, engage in community events, and continue the work of building a future rooted in dignity and respect. Happy Juneteenth from Erie City Council. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilman Troop. Councilman Brzezinski.
Yes, Mr. President, thank you. First off, I guess the Port Authority, they're continuing to be very busy, but they're doing things that most people don't even recognize. I don't know if you have a boat or a big boat or almost a yacht. Since they've dredged out the East Avenue boat launch, you can now put your boat or a big boat in the water there, which is something that hasn't been done for almost 10 years, I think. The other thing they're doing very quietly is fixing the south wall of the McAllister Place property, which will enhance the chances of somebody coming and talking some serious development there. Coke plant is always going and going, we know that. And takes care of them. Erie Event Center, Mr. Pine is still trying to find his tail with the zoo problem. They keep on going in circles and nobody knows where they're going. It's frustrating, but we're going to get everybody to the table and get an answer with us pretty soon, because we put a lot of hours into this, Ty, huh? And it's time that we get some kind of solution. The other thing, I would be amiss if I didn't make mention of the bike lanes. Bikes and cars and people have shared the road for a couple hundred years. Bikes know how to ride on the road. People know how to ride in their cars. When they're looking for white lines that are almost gone by now, so where are we going to get the money to paint the damn lines again next year? Another winter, you won't have bike lines. Anyway, the thing, our city is smart enough to share the road with kids, people, grown-ups. You won't see professional bikers on any of these roads. Talk to them. The guys that do 20, 25 miles a day, they would be caught dead on East 38th Street because the bike lane's about that wide. I mean, the thing is ridiculous, and if any way I can do it, I'm going to talk to the solicitor and see if I can rescind this plan, because I think it's ridiculous. I said it from the beginning. I know what the other gentleman was saying. I've been to countries outside the United States that the houses are wide, buildings are wide apart. So you can have 4 lanes of traffic, you can have bike lanes on both sides, and you can have pedestrian lanes. They have the room for that. We don't have it on Green Garden. It's a miracle that nobody's been killed on Parade Street. Mr. Spoon and I say that almost every time we come down to a meeting. It's gonna happen. Somebody's gonna open their door and they're not gonna see the bike that's coming down the bike lane, and the guy's gonna have a hell of an insurance bill. Unfortunately, maybe somebody has to be hurt seriously before people start taking it serious. Boy, you got me on my, I'm almost done. Anyway, I agree totally with the talk of Juneteenth and the LGBTQ folks talking about things like that. Let's talk about being Americans. Let's look forward to the 4th of July. Let's all be happy that we are Americans. Some people think we're all immigrants. We were, but we all became Americans. So it's America first. All the other stuff is just agenda. Thank you very much and have a good one.
Thank you. Councilperson Titus.
Thank you. I'll start with going over, we are rapidly approaching the time for the Home Rule Commission, where individuals who are interested in running for this will need to begin circulating their petitions. So I just want to keep reminding everyone that if you are interested in the Home Rule Commission, you should be looking into getting this ready and starting to plan, like, how are you going to circulate to make sure that you're getting on this commission and getting the things that you need to accomplish to make sure that you're doing it correctly. The Human Relations Commission, I'm not the liaison, but this is something that is near and dear to my heart. They have a new director, Dr. Christy Ganibis. We will be doing a training on Thursday, June 26th from 11:30 to 1 down at the library. And you can register for this at hrc@eriecountypa.gov. We're going to be going over just what is discrimination. If you have experienced discrimination, how do you file? What are your rights? And this will just be open for those who want to come. Again, it's 11:30 to 1. The work that the commission is doing is incredibly important when we have so many people who are experiencing and not knowing discrimination, not knowing how and what their rights are. And so this is just one thing that we can do to help educate people on their own rights. The Erie Land Bank, as Councilor Schaaf had talked about, met on Monday. I am very excited to see how many of the bids that are coming in and how many of the vacant lots are being activated. This is one of the areas that we had struggled with, as I'm catching myself up on the land bank history, is that the land bank would acquire property, and unfortunately these lots would sit because there would be struggle around developing. But some of the initiatives that they have put in, we're starting to see the properties get reactivated and come back on the tax base, which is great for the city. And additionally, they have a new incentive and a program. I believe it's called the Home Program, and if I'm incorrect, somebody correct me. Where once you have rebuilt and someone is occupying that residence, you'll be reimbursed the fees that you have put in to purchase from the land bank. So this is something that is just getting started. And so if you are someone who's interested in buying and building a place of occupancy, please reach out and look at the Erie Land Bank properties. We are currently scheduling meetings with the counselors to go over and understand their positions when it comes to the arrangements or the proposals that we've received from the Erie Zoo and Erie Events. So I am really eager to get this process to the next phase. And then in closing, two things is tomorrow we also have another Juneteenth celebration at Perry Square from 6 to 9. So if you're able to come down, please come down. Pride is June 28th at Liberty Park. And to acknowledge what one of the residents had spoke on, today the Supreme Court did issue a devastating blow, especially to the trans community. And I just wanted to take a moment to acknowledge the young people that I hear you, I see you, I believe you, and that there are many, many, many adults and community members and allies who are fighting for you. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilman Nelson.
Thank you. I didn't have any liaison responsibilities these past 2 weeks. Airport Authority meets next week. Kind of echoing what Councilman Brzezinski said, we had 4 resolutions on the agenda today. We had one for refugees, one for the LGBT community, and one for Juneteenth with the Black community, and the 4th one being for the 250th anniversary of the United States. And support for that as Pennsylvania becomes a very key spot in that celebration next year for July 4th. It's always great to see the way that I think it's a nice reflection coming together with that 250th anniversary in light of the other 3 of celebrating refugees, LGBT, and the Black communities today. So just want to highlight how the 4 of those come together. Usually those things get separated and we all say our nice pieces, but today it seems to be during committee reports for efficiency. So that's it for my report today, though.
Thank you. Councilwoman Flores.
Hello, everyone. My report consists of us having our zoning hearing board meeting on June 10th at 1 p.m., and then we had our planning commission meeting on June 17th at 1 p.m. You can rewatch these meetings on YouTube and our city's Facebook channel. We had a study session yesterday in regards to what the code enforcement has been working on and how successful their cleanup efforts have been. I've noticed them driving throughout the city, and I also feel like other council members have been noticing the changes and are content for the moment with the progress we're making. Nothing's overnight, it takes time, so I'm just hopeful that with the summer months being warm, people are calling for large item pickups and cleaning up things that they don't want to keep in their yard or around their house or in their homes. June 25th at 3 p.m. we all have our Environmental Advisory Council meeting. On June 12th, I did attend the Glow Erie at the zoo, and I was lucky enough to catch the 9:15 performance of the live performers. That was a pretty awesome thing to see, and how great and athletic they are, because to be tossed up and around and be caught and not lose your space or your step is awesome in my eyes. So that was pretty awesome, and we were all in the rain watching everyone, so it was interesting to see. I attended the Erie's Juneteenth celebration. It was the earlier part of the day, between noon and 4, I believe I was there, right before Councilmember Mo Troop went out to perform. So I didn't catch that, but I know a lot of people were looking forward to that, and I did see videos, and everyone looked like they were having a good time later in the day. There was live music, vendors, and then food vendors, so that's always a great time when the community shows up for each other and we celebrate each other. June 13th, I attended the Erie Black Wall Street's Mix and Mingle on the Victoria Princess around the peninsula. That was a pretty great experience. It's kind of hot in that Victoria Princess, and you can't open windows, but luckily you are able to go onto the deck, so that was a great experience. I had never been on the water that way, so I definitely recommend people look into the Victoria Princess's events, because they are affordable, it is a good time, and it's something in the community to do during the summer. That's all I have to report. I just want people to make sure they're paying attention to the 8-1 concert series announcement and Celebrate Erie announcements going on tomorrow, so there's lots of summer fun to be had, and I definitely recommend that people do that in the city. That's all I have to report.
Thank you very much. I just want to make a couple of comments. Former Councilman Michael Keyes mentioned his concern about the parks, and I served with him at the time that he was pushing for, in particular, Roger Young Park. I think we ought to be concerned about what we are doing or what we aren't doing, and make sure our parks become a park, not just a plain green space. There needs to be some monies put into the park and have that specific statement of what it's for. But I'm also concerned about all the other parks that the city owns. We need to take a look at it, assess it, and determine what we can and cannot do. Let's not put on paper our hopes and dreams and don't have a dime to make it a reality. So we need to assess, meet, plan, and do what we can do. Mike has been pushing that ever since he was on council. The other thing, one of these citizens spoke about the basketball hoops in the streets. I know exactly what they're talking about. When my kids were young, I had a hoop on the sidewalk, but it extended to the streets. And garbage truck came one night and tore it down. And I called the city, and they said I shouldn't have had it there. And it's been the law ever since. So we need to do something. If our police department get calls on that, we need to react. We need to maybe put it on the website about that law, because the weather is changing, and if there's a hoop out there, the kid's going to be out there. And it's lighter. At 8 o'clock, they're going to be out there playing. And if you have senior citizens in that area, they may go to bed early. So we need to look at that and be concerned about it. Not sure what we can do legally, but we need to look at it. Jason.
Oh, I would only say, so tomorrow is Juneteenth. The state has off, the feds have off, but the county does not. So if someone has to go to the courthouse tomorrow, the county courthouse, the first floor should be open, but the second floor is where all the courts are. Those are technically state employees. They will be closed. So if you have to go to the courthouse tomorrow to do something, just double check. make sure that particular office is open. It's kind of a split situation over at the county courthouse.
Thank you.
Excuse me, Mr. President?
Yeah.
That's very important because Friday is the last day to fill out the financials for anybody who was in any of the races. A date kind of sneaks up on you.
Mayor?
I'll be very brief. Back on Friday, June 6th, I took most of the day and went with Len Trott. We drove around to all 6 police stations, and I think they knew we were going to be coming, not police, the fire stations. And we talked to the firefighters as a group, and I've got a lot of lists of things they'd like to see get done and like to do. And then he also took me to 2 other stations that used to be stations that aren't, but they use them for things now, so he just wanted to show me what they do. That was very interesting, and I really enjoyed it. And also, I want to take a minute here to thank all 7 of you for the work you do. I really appreciate it, and keep up the good work. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Attorney?
I have nothing.
Okay.
Should congratulate his son, all-star in baseball.
I didn't know.
Tell
I will
us.
do it then. Esquire, congratulations. Keith made the all-star for the region. Yeah. Well deserved.
Congratulations. Okay, a final note. I was informed this evening that Buffalo, Pittsburgh, Cleveland, their municipality celebrates June 19th as a day of remembrance, and they are closed for business. Erie is open for business. So something we need to think about in the future.
Mr. President, could I end with a happy note?
Yes, sir.
Ms. Slomsky would kill me if I didn't remember to say this. The taxi is up and running across the bay. You don't have to go to Presque Isle to ride the taxi. They make stops at different places. It's a beautiful experience. If you have a young family, get down there, get the kids on that boat, and let them take you around the bay on a beautiful day. It's not a prettier place than any place. Commercial's over. Get down there.
Hearing nothing else, meeting's adjourned.
No, what about the man? Okay, yeah. City Council adjourns at 7:42 p.m. Witherspoon, Brzezinski, Flores, Nelson, Schuff, Titus, Troop.